The rain hammered against the windshield like angry fists, turning the highway into a blurred ribbon of black and silver. Marcus Hale gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white against the worn leather. The old sedan groaned under the assault of the storm, its wipers fighting a losing battle against the downpour. In the back seat, 8-year-old Lily huddled under a thin blanket, her small frame shivering. Her eyes were half closed, heavy with exhaustion and hunger. "Dad." "I'm cold," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the roar of the rain. "And I'm really hungry." Marcus glanced at the clock on the dashboard, 9:17 p.m. He was already late from the extra shift at the garage, the kind of shift that paid just enough to keep the lights on for another week. If he didn't make it home soon, the landlord would be knocking again tomorrow. Another late notice. Another reminder that one man's best wasn't enough. He swallowed the knot in his throat and kept driving. Then ahead, a flash of hazard lights cut through the darkness. A sleek black Mercedes had slid to a stop on the shoulder, its front end tilted awkwardly. A woman stepped out into the storm, her blonde hair plastered to her face, her expensive coat soaked through. She fumbled with her phone, desperation clear in every frantic movement. Marcus's first instinct was to keep going. He had 12 minutes before Lily started crying for real. 12 minutes before another night of empty promises and cold cereal for dinner. But Lily suddenly pressed her face against the window, her breath fogging the glass. "Dad." "She's crying." Marcus looked again. The woman had sunk to her knees beside the front tire shoulders, shaking hands, covering her face as the rain beat down on her. He gripped the wheel harder. In his head, 2 voices warred. "If I stop, Lily goes to bed hungry again. If I don't, that woman might not wake up tomorrow." Marcus won the war in 1 second. He yanked the wheel tires, skidding slightly as he pulled onto the shoulder. The moment he opened his door, the woman looked up at him like he was the last lifeboat on a sinking ship. "Please," she gasped, her voice raw from crying. "I don't know what to do." Marcus didn't ask her name. He didn't ask where she was from. He simply said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion clawing at him, "I have 12 minutes. My daughter's hungry. If you let me, I'll fix it. If not, I drive away." The woman nodded frantically, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. "Yes, please." Marcus popped the hood. Lily climbed out with the flashlight, holding it steady like she'd done 100 times before helping her dad on the side of the road. One glance told him everything: loose battery terminal shorted by the rainwater. A small fix, but deadly in this storm. His hands moved fast, practiced from years of scraping by. The woman stood nearby, trembling, watching him like he was performing a miracle. "I'll pay whatever you want," she said, voice shaking. "Anything." Marcus slammed the hood shut with a solid thud. "No!" She stared at him, stunned. "No!" Marcus glanced back at the car. Lily was hugging her stomach, trying not to complain. He looked the woman straight in the eyes. "If I take your money, my daughter will think kindness has a price. I don't want her to grow up thinking that." The woman went completely still. She looked at Lily, then back at Marcus, her expression cracking open like something inside her had finally broken free. She asked, her voice hoarse, "What's your name, Marcus?" And the little girl. Lily answered softly, politely, "I'm Lily." The woman nodded slowly, as if etching the names into her memory forever. Then she said something that sent a chill down Marcus's spine. "Marcus, tonight You're going to get a phone call from a law firm. Answer it. If you don't, you'll lose the chance to change your daughter's life forever. Marcus frowned, rain dripping from his hair. Who are you? The woman didn't answer. She only looked at him one last time, her eyes filled with a strange mix of gratitude and farewell. Thank you for stopping. Not everyone does, especially when they're poor. She climbed back into the Mercedes, the engine roaring to life, and vanished into the storm. Marcus stood alone on the roadside, the wind howling around him, heart pounding like a war drum. Lily tugged at his sleeve, her small voice cutting through the rain. Dad? Who was she? Marcus didn't answer, because in his mind only one question remained hanging in the air like a blade. A woman driving a Mercedes in the middle of a storm who somehow knew a law firm would call him tonight. Who exactly was she? And why did 12 minutes of simple kindness just open the door to a night that would change their lives forever? Marcus drove home in silence, the wiper still fighting the dying rain. Lily sat quietly in the back, her small hands clutching the blanket he had wrapped around her. When they finally pulled up to their run-down duplex on Maple Street, the porch light flickered weakly as if even the bulb was tired of struggling. Inside, the apartment felt smaller than usual. The walls were thin, the carpet worn thin from years of footsteps, and the heater rattled like an old man coughing. Marcus heated up a packet of instant noodles for Lily, watching her eat, slowly, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Dad. Tomorrow's science fair, she said between bites, trying to sound brave. I have to bring something cool, but it's okay if we can't. I can just draw a picture instead. Marcus's throat tightened. He forced a smile and kissed the top of her head. We'll figure it out, kiddo. Now finish up and get to bed. After Lily was tucked in, Marcus sat at the tiny kitchen table staring at the pile of bills. The electric company's final notice glared back at him in red ink. The hospital bill from Lily's last ear infection. The rent that was already 2 weeks late. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaustion settling deep into his bones. Sleep didn't come that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the woman's voice in the rain. Tonight you're going to get a phone call from a law firm. At 6:10 a.m., Marcus was already at the garage where he worked as a mechanic's assistant. The place smelled of oil and metal, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. Dale, the owner, was waiting at the door, arms crossed. You're 5 minutes late. Marcus froze. I clocked in on time. The system late is late. Dale cut him off, tossing the timesheet under the counter. No excuses about helping strangers in the rain. I don't pay you to be a hero. I pay you to work. One more time, and you're out. Marcus stood there, the words hitting like punches. He had stopped to help a woman last night. His daughter had been cold and hungry in the car, and this morning he was being punished for it. By midday, the humiliation still burned. Marcus was under a truck changing oil when a sleek black Mercedes pulled into the lot. A woman stepped out, elegant, composed, wearing sunglasses and a coat that looked too expensive for this neighborhood. She walked straight toward him. My car is making a strange noise, she said, her voice smooth but familiar. Can you take a look? Marcus wiped his hands on a rag and stood up. It was her, the woman from the rain. He recognized the posture, the way she held herself, even though she was pretending to be just another customer. He popped the hood without a word. One quick glance told him the truth, nothing serious. A loose sensor probably jostled by the storm. He fixed it in under 2 minutes. All done, he said, closing the hood. No charge. It was a small issue. She stared at him surprised. "You're not going to charge me?" Marcus shrugged. It wasn't a big fix. No need. She tilted her head slightly. "You know. If you told the insurance company it was major damage from the storm, they'd pay you a lot more. Everyone does it." Marcus's jaw tightened. He met her eyes directly. "I don't lie to make money. I have a daughter who watches everything I do. I don't want her learning that kindness comes with a price tag." The woman was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded almost imperceptibly, as if confirming something to herself. Before she drove away, she left one final comment, almost like a test. "In this city, people like you don't last long." Marcus watched her Mercedes disappear down the street, a strange unease settling in his gut. Something about her wasn't right, but he pushed it aside. He had bills to pay, a daughter to feed, and a shift that still needed finishing. That evening when he got home, Lily was waiting at the kitchen table with a folded piece of paper. Her science fair flyer. "Dad, the STEM camp costs extra this year. The teacher said I have talent, but..." She trailed off, not wanting to finish the sentence. Marcus read the amount. His stomach dropped. It was more than he made in 2 weeks. Lily quickly added, "It's okay, Dad. I can just do the regular fare. I don't need the camp." Marcus turned away so she wouldn't see his face. The weight of everything pressed down on him, the late bills, the lost job threat, the endless cycle of barely making it. He hated that his little girl already knew how to shrink her dreams to fit their reality. Later that night, as Marcus sat alone at the table, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "If you tell the school Lily's mother is still alive, she qualifies for a full hardship scholarship. No one will check." Marcus stared at the screen, his blood running cold. This wasn't just a test of honesty anymore. This was a test of something darker. Would he lie about his dead wife to give his daughter a better future? His hand shook as he typed back one single line. "My daughter deserves a future. But she doesn't need a father who lies to get it." The reply came instantly. "You really are a fool." Marcus threw the phone onto the table, breathing hard. The apartment felt smaller, the walls closing in. He had just turned down easy money for his daughter's dreams. Again. At 10:43 p.m., the phone rang. Unknown number. Marcus remembered the woman's words in the rain. "Tonight you're going to get a phone call from a law firm." His heart hammered as he answered. "Hello." A calm, professional male voice came through Mr. Marcus Hale. "This is Whitmore and Associates. You are required to appear at our office tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. Failure to attend will result in default proceedings." Marcus stood frozen. The room spinning. "What proceedings? I haven't signed anything. What is this about?" The voice remained ice-cold and precise. "It concerns a matter of estate and trust. I cannot discuss details over the phone. Be here at 9, Mr. Hale, and do not share this call with any third party." The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone in his hand, his mind racing. A law firm, an estate, a trust. None of it made sense for a broke mechanic who fixed cars for minimum wage. Lily's door creaked open. She stood there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Dad, who was that?" Marcus forced a smile, though his voice was hoarse. No one important, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. But as Lily's door clicked shut, Marcus sank into his chair, the weight of the unknown crushing him. Why was a powerful law firm calling him about an estate and trust? Who was the mysterious woman from the rain, and was this phone call the beginning of a trap, or the start of a miracle that would change their lives forever? Marcus stared at the phone in his hand, his mind racing. Why was a powerful law firm calling him about an estate and trust? Who was the mysterious woman from the rain, and was this phone call the beginning of a trap, or the start of a miracle that would change their lives forever? He barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the woman's face in the rain, her desperate eyes, and heard her final words echoing like a warning. By morning, his head throbbed with exhaustion and dread. He dropped Lily off at school with a forced smile, promising her he'd pick her up on time. "Don't worry, Dad," she said, hugging him tight. "I'll be good today. And maybe we can have pancakes for dinner if you get home early." Marcus nodded, his chest tight. "Yeah, kiddo. Pancakes sound good." At the garage, Dale was waiting by the time clock arms crossed and face like stone. "You're on thin ice, Hale." Marcus froze mid-step. "What are you talking about?" "I clocked in on time yesterday." Dale shoved a clipboard at him. "Customer complaint. Said you were distracted rude. Took too long on a simple oil change because you were on your phone half the time." Marcus's stomach dropped. He hadn't touched his phone during work yesterday. The only call had been the one from the law firm the night before. "I wasn't on my phone, Dale. There must be a mistake." "No mistake," Dale snapped. "And I heard about your little hero act on the highway the other night, stopping to play Good Samaritan while you're already behind on shifts. This isn't a charity, Hale. It's a business. One more complaint and you're gone." Marcus stood there, the words hitting like punches. He had stopped to help a stranger in the rain. His daughter had been cold and hungry in the car, and now he was being punished for it. By midday, the humiliation had turned to fear. He worked through lunch hands, moving on autopilot, but his mind was spinning. What if this was connected? What if the woman from the rain had reported him? What if the law firm call was some kind of setup? His phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. He ignored it, but it rang again and again. Finally, during a break, he stepped outside and answered. "Mr. Marcus Hale, the same professional voice from last night. This is Whitmore and Associates. Your appointment is confirmed for tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. Do not be late." Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. "Look, I don't know what this is about. I haven't signed anything. I fix cars for a living. Whatever you think I did, we cannot discuss details over the phone." The voice cut in coldly. "Be here at 9. And Mr. Hale, bring proof of identification. This concerns a matter that could significantly impact your future." The line went dead. Marcus leaned against the garage wall, breathing hard. Impact his future. In what way? Lawsuits, debts. Something worse. He thought of Lily at school, her science fair project still unfinished because they couldn't afford the supplies. If he lost his job now, if this law firm thing dragged him into court or drained what little savings he had left, by the time he picked Lily up from school, his nerves were raw. She ran to him with her usual bright smile, but it faltered when she saw his face. "Dad, you look sick. Are you okay?" He forced a grin and ruffled her hair. "Just tired, kiddo. Long day." They walked home hand in hand. Lily chattered about her day about the science fair and how her teacher said she had real talent. Marcus listened, but his mind kept drifting to the phone call to the woman in the rain, to the terrifying possibility that one act of kindness had opened a door he couldn't close. At home, Lily sat at the kitchen table doing homework while Marcus heated up leftover soup. She looked up suddenly, her small face serious. "Dad, if we don't have enough money for the science fair, it's okay. I can just watch the other kids. I don't need to do it." The words hit Marcus like a knife to the heart. His 8-year-old daughter was already learning to shrink her dreams to fit their reality. He turned away so she wouldn't see the tears burning in his eyes. "You're going to that fair, Lily," he said, voice rough. "I promise." But as he stirred the soup, doubt clawed at him. How could he keep that promise if the law firm call led to something that took everything away? What if this was all a trap? What if helping that woman had somehow put his daughter at risk? That night, after Lily was asleep, Marcus sat at the kitchen table staring at the unknown number on his phone. He wanted to ignore it. He wanted to pretend none of this was happening. But the woman's words from the rain kept echoing. "If you don't answer, you'll lose the chance to change your daughter's life forever." He couldn't risk it. Not for Lily. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. he would walk into Whitmore and Associates and face whatever waited for him. But as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, one terrifying question kept him awake. Was he walking into a miracle, or straight into the kind of trap that could destroy the only family he had left? The law firm of Whitmore and Associates occupied the top 3 floors of a sleek glass tower in downtown Hartford. Marcus stepped out of the elevator feeling like a man walking into court for a crime he didn't commit. His work boots left faint prints on the marble floor. His faded jacket looked cheap under the soft overhead lighting. Everything about the place whispered money and power. A polished receptionist glanced up, her smile professional but distant. "Mr. Hale, please follow me." She led him down a long corridor lined with original art and into a large conference room. 3 people were already waiting: a silver-haired lawyer in a navy suit, a notary with a thick folder, and a middle-aged woman in a white coat who Marcus assumed was a doctor. And then Catherine walked in. She no longer looked like the desperate woman from the rain. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her black dress tailored and expensive. But her face was thinner, her eyes carrying a quiet exhaustion that makeup couldn't hide. She moved slowly as if every step cost her something. Marcus stood frozen. "You," Catherine offered a small, tired smile. "Hello again, Marcus." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Shall we begin?" They sat. Catherine placed a thick medical file on the table and slid it toward Marcus. 6 months, she said quietly. "Maybe less. Stage 4, pancreatic cancer. I've tried every treatment money can buy. None of them worked." Marcus stared at the file, the words blurring. He had expected lawsuits, threats, even blackmail. Not this. Catherine continued, her voice steady but soft. "For the last year, I've been searching for one honest person. Someone who would do the right thing when no one was watching and nothing was promised in return. I set up dozens of tests, stranded motorists, fake accidents, people in need on the side of the road. Almost everyone failed. They either ignored the situation or helped only when they thought they'd be rewarded." She looked directly at him. But you stopped, in the pouring rain, with your hungry daughter in the car. You fixed my car in 12 minutes and refused every cent I offered. You told me your daughter would learn that kindness has a price if you took the money. That sentence changed everything. Marcus's mouth was dry. So this whole thing, the law firm call... It was all another test. Catherine shook her head. No, this is real. I'm dying, Marcus. And before I go, I want to do one thing right. She slid another document across the table. The heading was clear. Addendum to Last Will and Testament. Primary heir, Marcus Hale. Marcus read the words twice, then pushed the paper away as if it burned him. No. The lawyer blinked. Mr. Hale, you haven't even heard the terms. I said no. Marcus stood up his chair, scraping loudly. I'm not taking your money. I helped you because it was the right thing to do, not because I wanted a payoff. I have a daughter. I will not let her grow up thinking her father sold his soul for a fortune. I will not have her picture in the papers or people fighting over custody or her life turned into some reality show. I won't do it. The room fell silent. Catherine studied him for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, she smiled a small, genuine smile that reached her tired eyes. I knew you'd say that, she whispered. That's exactly why I chose you. Marcus remained standing, fists clenched at his sides. If you really want to do something good before you die, don't make me rich. Make it fair. Set up a fund for people who get stranded on the road, scholarships for kids whose parents work with their hands. Make sure the money actually helps people who need it, not just my bank account. Catherine's eyes glistened. She looked at the lawyer and nodded once. Drafted exactly as he described, she said, independent board, Lily's teacher and a local pastor on the committee, full transparency, no media stunts. And Marcus keeps living exactly as he does now, same job, same apartment, same life. The money is never for him to become wealthy. It's only so he never has to apologize to his daughter for being poor again. She turned back to Marcus, her voice softening. I don't want you to become a rich man, Marcus. I want you to become a man who no longer has to apologize for being poor. Marcus stood there, chest rising and falling, the weight of her words pressing down on him. For the first time since the phone call, he didn't feel trapped. He felt seen. Catherine reached out and placed her hand gently over his. Thank you for stopping. That night, she whispered, you didn't just fix my car. You reminded me that good people still exist. Marcus looked down at her frail hand, then back at her face. And you, he said quietly, just reminded me that sometimes the biggest miracles come from the smallest acts of kindness. Outside the tall windows, the Hartford skyline stretched gray and endless under the morning sky. But inside that conference room, something had shifted forever. A dying woman had found the one man who would not sell his soul. And a struggling father had just been handed a future he never asked for, but would now have to decide how to carry with honor. Catherine did not announce Marcus as her heir to the world. There was no press conference, no dramatic reading of the will, no flashing cameras. Instead, she began a quiet revolution that no one could undo. First, she purchased the garage where Marcus worked. The very place that had threatened to fire him for stopping to help a stranger in the rain was transformed overnight into a worker-owned cooperative. Every mechanic received a raise health insurance and a real retirement plan. Dale was quietly replaced by a new manager who believed in treating people with dignity. Next, she established the Whitmore Roadside Fund, a foundation dedicated to helping stranded drivers and providing STEM scholarships for the children of blue-collar workers, single parents, and mechanics. The board was deliberately ordinary Lily's science teacher, a local pastor, and 2 retired school bus drivers. Every dollar spent would be public and transparent. No one could turn it into a publicity stunt. Marcus refused to accept a single cent for himself. He kept his same small apartment, the same old sedan, the same early morning shifts fixing cars. He still picked Lily up from school every day, still cooked simple dinners, still sat on the edge of her bed reading stories until she fell asleep. The only visible change was that the final notices stopped coming, the electricity stayed on, and Lily's science fair project finally had real supplies instead of cardboard and glue. One quiet Thursday evening in early spring, a soft knock sounded at the door. Marcus opened it to find Catherine standing there alone, no bodyguards, no luxury car, no designer coat. She looked thinner, frailer, but her eyes were clear. In her hands, she held a small bouquet of wildflowers. Lily peeked around her father's leg, then stepped forward without hesitation. She disappeared into the kitchen and returned holding a glass of warm water. "Dad says good people should always drink warm water," she said solemnly, offering it to Catherine. Catherine took the glass with trembling hands. For a long moment she simply stared at the little girl, then whispered, "Thank you, sweetheart." Her voice cracked on the last word. That night after Lily had gone to bed, Catherine sat across from Marcus at the small kitchen table. The only light came from the stove hood. "I'm not afraid of dying," she said quietly. "I'm afraid of dying and leaving behind nothing but money. I'm afraid no one will remember that I was once a person who tried to be good." Marcus reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "You're doing the right thing now," he said, "and Lily will remember. I'll make sure of it." Catherine smiled through tears. That's all I wanted." 3 months later, Catherine Whitaker passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was small and private, just a handful of people in a quiet garden behind the hospital where she had spent her final weeks. No cameras, no headlines, only those who had truly known her at the end. After the service, the lawyer read the public portion of the will. Marcus Hale was named the steward of the Whitmore Roadside Fund, but every dollar was locked into the foundation. There would be no private fortune, no sudden wealth, no lifestyle change. Just enough security so that a single father would never again have to choose between feeding his daughter and helping a stranger on the side of the road. Marcus walked home that afternoon carrying a single white envelope the lawyer had given him privately. Inside was a handwritten letter in Catherine's elegant script. "Marcus, you once refused my money, so I didn't make you rich. I made you enough. Enough so you never have to fear tomorrow when Lily needs milk. Enough so your kindness is never punished again. Thank you for teaching me what real wealth looks like. You already had it the night you stopped in the rain. With gratitude, Catherine." Marcus stood on the sidewalk and cried. When he finally walked through the front door, Lily ran to him and wrapped her arms around his waist. "Dad, are you crying?" Marcus smiled through the tears and lifted her into his arms. "I'm crying because someone finally understood me." Final scene. A few weeks later, on a warm Saturday afternoon, Marcus and Lily were driving home from the library when they saw a car broken down on the side of the road. A young mother stood beside it, looking lost and overwhelmed, a toddler on her hip. Lily turned to her father, eyes wide with the same innocent hope she always carried. "Dad." "Should we stop?" Marcus looked at his daughter, then at the stranded car. He remembered Catherine's letter. He remembered the night in the rain. He remembered the promise he had made to himself the day Lily was born, to raise her to believe that kindness was never a mistake. He pulled over. Before he opened the hood, he looked down at his little girl and spoke the words that would stay with her for the rest of her life. "Sweetheart, kindness doesn't make us poor. It only waits for the right person to become a legacy."